Good morning and welcome everyone to Aging by the Bay, where we provide families in the San Francisco Bay Area relevant information about healthy aging practices and services. I'm your host, Ajay Seni from ComForCare Home Care. With ComForCare, you can give your loved ones the best life possible thanks to compassionate care that helps them live with dignity and respect in the comfort of their own homes. Find out more at comfortcare.com or call us at 1 800 886 4044. At Aging by the Bay, we talk about joys and some of the challenges of growing older in the Bay Area. We talk to experts about what they see happening as people age, as well as the services that are available that you or your loved ones may not be aware of. Today, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Breanna Morin. She is a certified nutritionist and the founder of New Life Mission with 20 plus years of education and experience helping individuals, athletes, and families create daily practices for living a healthy and high performance lifestyle at every age and stage of life. She lives in Pleasanton with her husband and 3 children. So, good morning, Breanna. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Ajay. I am doing amazing, all things considered.
Yeah. So, I want to start with, a very generic thing that we all hear. Don't worry, be happy, right? And still, we, in spite of hearing this so many times, we all worry. And if we talk about food, we have heard that food is body fuel. It's the energy that, sustains us. We can live a happy and healthy life if we are eating well. Still, we neglect and eat unhealthy food. Why does it happen?
If only worrying could count as exercise, we'd all be in better shape.
Yeah.
All heard, right, that food is fuel. And I, considering that we have to consume food in order for the basic bodily functions to perform, that's a fact. However, I'd like to invite the audience to rephrase that common phrase as food is information. And this is why we tend to sort of eat out of control when our emotions are out of control, or when our worry is high, or our stress level increases. Somehow the human body is developed to communicate what it needs. And somehow we've flipped the channels and we've taken the reins on this is what I want versus this is what I need. So we tend to feed it and then ask it to perform. This is sort of similar to feeding a toddler candy and then asking it to take a nap. So I think that knowing that we need food knows that our body is at some point going to ask for and need it to perform. Knowing what our body needs is completely different. And one of my favorite tools to use to help the body, the communication between yourself and your body better, it's sort of like marriage counseling. We're going to go through a counseling process of pressing pause to find out what your body is asking for before jumping to the conclusion that that's what it wants. So we live in an abundance of food and flavors. And that's often why we reach for those things under high moments of stress. And one of the things that I like to insert there is sort of an obstacle. It's just to help you identify and give your body the power of pause. It's really incredible. If you pause for just a second, and you can insert intentional ways to do this throughout the day. But if you pause for a moment, you might realize it isn't food that you want. There are the things when it comes to stress. So our vitality, our happiness, our joy, it's driven more positively by other areas of our health. So our sleep and hydration actually have a much larger impact on our overall enjoyment and happiness, because when we're more rested and hydrated, we tend to have a lot more control over those emotions. We're more relaxed. We move at just as not our physically slower pace, but just in general, we respond more effectively. And so I like to encourage people to work on improving their stress. Now, you may not COVID is a perfect example of not having control of what causes the stress. There are things about our stress factors that we can't change. Our worry, we can't change these things because they're happening around us and to us, but we can make them happen for us. And so if you can't change whether or not, we've been asked to stay home, whether or not there are stress factors raised outside of the home, like currently wearing masks and these things that feel like they're in between you and living the life that you want to live. What we can do is work to improve some of the things that would help you manage that stress better. So I like to encourage people to pick just one thing to focus on for a month, and it typically isn't making better food choices. It typically, especially if you find yourself eating emotionally, it tends to be pick sleep or pick hydration, and then set a reminder at a specific time of day, at the same time every day, to improve that. Now, that reminder isn't there to pressure you to be perfect or to, like if I didn't get 8 hours of sleep and I didn't do it for a month in a row, then I failed. It's actually there as a pause button. And when you see the reminder, you can ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now more important than my commitment to improve this one thing? It's not asking yourself very much. You haven't asked yourself to change your entire diet, not to eat those chips, don't eat a sweet for 30 days. You haven't asked yourself to give up anything. You've just asked yourself to add one small step to what you're already doing. That could be to drink an extra glass of water later in the day when you realize you don't normally. That could be to drink a glass of water before your first cup of coffee. Whatever it is you want to choose to improve that isn't taking anything away, that's causing more stress, because the last thing you want to do when you're stressed and you find yourself struggling is add more stress to your plate. So that reminder's there as a pause button, and you can quickly ask yourself, I made a commitment, my alarm went off, I made a commitment to turn off my electronics and go to bed at this specific time. Is what I'm doing right now more important than my commitment to my health? And sometimes the answer is yes, and that's not a failure, right? Sometimes I'm in the middle of a really great show. I don't want to go to bed right now. Right. But that pause button most likely may be, you know what? This show will be here tomorrow. I made a commitment to improve just this one thing. I'm going to try it for 30 days. And overall, I'm going to get just a little bit more sleep. I'm going to drink a little bit more water, whatever it is that you're choosing to improve. And that could be a food item. But I wouldn't discourage anybody from choosing a food item that they know is standing in between them and what they want. However, if it's there now, most likely it's not what you really want to pick, because removing something under stress is typically, most people are set up for failure in that way. So I like to work on improving positive things that are within our control, that also improve our mood and improve our ability to make better choices.
Excellent. This is very interesting. And that's the value of talking to an expert. I've asked you the question about why people pick unhealthy food, and your answer focused very less on food, actually. So that's what you get when you get into the root cause of why certain things happen. So this is a very interesting angle that you brought up, and I'm finding this very interesting. So
I would kind of to that point, when you manage your overall how you feel, it's like the equivalent of being sober. And food is the equivalent of being under the influence. So when you better improve the things that help you make decisions and lower your stress level, even if it's outside of your control.
Right.
You just have you have a better ability to make better choices. You're less intoxicated.
Yeah, very, very interesting and very useful. So moving on, we know that proper nutrition is important for all of us. And if we talk specifically about our senior population, what kind of challenges do you see? And if they are not taking proper food, what kind of issues they can get into? What do you see? Your comments on that?
Yeah, so proper nutrition is arguably the most important thing you can master in life. It's responsible for your vitality. It's responsible for the way you experience life, and it's also responsible for how much of life you can experience.
Right.
A lack of nutrition in the body leads to a lack in overall participation in life. And proper nutrition ensures that you experience the most that life has to offer. I often have three types of clients. I have the young athlete who comes to me to improve their performance. I have the new parent that comes to me to improve their energy. And I have the grandparent that comes to me to improve their health. And it's almost backwards to some extent. But I treat each of these the same, helping them master. I've spoken on hydration and rest. And then also mastering their nutrition so they can make as many memories as possible. So the health of the human body naturally declines with age. You don't have to be a senior to face these challenges. And at the same time, you can live the most perfect and healthy lifestyle possible that doesn't exist, and you will still face these challenges. And so some of these challenges that you definitely at an older age could expect to face are a decline in the nutrient absorption for foods. So the body naturally will absorb fewer nutrients from the food that you eat. So if we choose foods and we have a diet that contains foods that are already, they already lack nutrition. So maybe a high processed food diet that would already reduce how many nutrients you're getting. And then your body's it's also naturally declining nutrient absorption. It's a double-edged sword, essentially. Now, eating a diet of whole foods and non-processed foods, it sounds great, but it's also not the world that we live in. We finding balance between those things, because you can eat a diet of whole foods actually, and there are other factors like where did the food come from, how far did it travel, that determine how nutrient dense it really is anyway. I use this example with clients with a tomato out of my own garden recently. I had a tomato that got hit by accident and it fell off green. And I put it on my counter and I took a picture of it. And then I waited, and 5 days later, it was red. And I took another picture of it and I showed the red tomato to my clients and I asked them, what's wrong with this tomato? And it looked perfect, right? It was from my own garden. They knew that. And I was able then to explain and show them this tomato, while it's beautiful and it came from my garden, its maximum nutrient density stopped when it fell off the vine when it was green. So even when we eat a diet full of whole foods, we can still suffer from nutrient deficiencies or just a lack of nutrition. And then add to that the body reduces how much it can absorb as it ages, then we are declining always. We all are at every age, right? Or we kind of peak, but after that, it's just a steady decline. And some of the ways, obviously, you can eat fewer processed foods. And then you can eat as many whole foods as possible. It's not within everyone's means or resources, especially under today's circumstances, to eat all organic or farmers market, locally grown foods that would ensure that you get the most nutrition. So I will say there's specific nutrients that the body needs more of as it matures. Calcium Vitamin D and B12 are a few to monitor very closely at the top of that list. You can work with a physician to get those tested if you're concerned. Most people don't need to be concerned. Just eat some more of those things or take a multivitamin. It's beneficial. The good news is vitamin D is a quick fix in not for all levels, but for the general population at an older age, at any age. 10 minutes of morning sunlight in a short sleeve shirt is enough to not only boost your vitamin D levels, but improve your mood and your energy, which will lead to just making better food choices throughout the day as well.
So there you go. That's why people say early to bed, early to rise, so that you can get that morning vitamin D.
Yeah.
Good. So you already touched upon a few things, but maybe you can summarize or add on to what you already said. What is your philosophy and how do you help people eat healthy and enjoy the food they like to eat?
So I have always, my philosophy is always back to basics. When there's something not working in your body, it's think about a trade that you've learned, a sport that you've participated in, or just any athlete, even if you haven't been. You don't become an Olympian with the fastest pace or the highest level of difficulty right away. You build a foundation of basic fundamental skills, and then you put all those together. It's not magic, right? So when someone gets something new, a new skill, it didn't happen overnight. It's a combination of fundamental things built on top of each other. So nutrition's a lot more like Legos than it is anything else. And so I encourage people to learn the absolute fundamentals of nutrition. Even before what vitamins and minerals do I need and where do I get them, it's how does my body use energy? How much energy do I need? And to support my lifestyle. And this is why two friends couldn't even do the exact same thing and have the same health or the same result if they wanted to change it. So I usually will take people back to basics, and if they never learned it in the first place, then it's a great fundamental. I call it kindergarten nutrition. And it's literally like learning nutrition in macronutrients, which are protein, carbohydrates, and fats, almost treated like triangles, circles, and squares. It's really, really, really basic. And then I help people figure out what their favorite flavors are and how to incorporate them into their meals. So not necessarily chocolate cake every day, but how do you incorporate the flavors you really love and enjoy into your everyday healthy lifestyle? And then also helping people plan their indulgences. Just plan ahead a little bit. That doesn't mean meal plan and prep all your meals, but plan ahead. If you have plans with friends or you want to try a recipe, find out what day of the week you're going to do that so you have something to look forward to and make it memorable.
Right. Excellent. Now, talking about the current environment. Now, COVID-19 has been a challenge for all of us, and in many, many challenging ways. From your angle as a nutritionist, what do you see in terms of challenges? And if we look around, like seniors in our community, so what can be, things that make you worry because of the situation?
So we talked about not worrying anymore, right? No. I honestly, this is probably the part where my heart breaks just a little bit for all people, but seniors especially. Seniors and children, I would say, and for the same reason, they don't always have full control over what they get to eat, right? Some people are, they're on a plan. Children get fed, right? So it's very similar in that sense. I think that there's two things that concern me very much about the situation that we're in. And one of them is two parts. It's a lack of resources. Right now, we have a lack of resources in the food industry. And going back to the tomato situation, right? If we have a lack locally, then we're going to continue to expand our regions until we can get the produce that we need. And it's not always going to be our best option. And that's not something that's in our control right now. And it's not something I feel like anybody should worry about, but just be aware of and understand and give yourself some grace, honestly, that it isn't in our control. We're having to reach far and wide for resources, and we're not alone in this. And then the second part to that, that's with our natural foods, right? Our meats, our produces. The FDA is making some, knowing that there are lack of resources in the industry, the FDA is making some, they're providing some leniencies to food manufacturers, and they're allowing them to make some very small changes to their recipes or their ingredients without changing the label. And so this could be concerning. It's not concerning the way it sounds. It's actually not concerning at all the way it sounds. So if you have a food allergy or something like that, there's no concern in that at all. There's some parameters involved, but the concern is, it's just small amounts. If it's less than 2% of the overall weight of the product, they don't have to report it, which means there's a little bit more sugar in this, a little bit less of that, a little bit. So it's just all these little tiny minor changes that are out of our control. Even if we do our best to make certain choices and we look at the label, it's incorrect right now. And then the longevity of that is a concern. These products are going to be on our shelves for who knows how long. There's a different shelf life on many of these different manufacturing items. And so they could be around for a while. And so taking a look at the future, like the next maybe 3 to 5 years, now's the time really to try to eat as much whole food as possible, knowing it might be a little less nutritious than it can be. And then, and less processed food, just because right now it's different circumstances. It could be a great opportunity where 3 to 5 years from now, you find yourself overall, you don't eat them anymore because you are more cautious right now. Again, nothing to be alarmed about, just aware of. There's some things happening that are out of our control. It also means there's going to be some circumstances. Now would be a great time to take a multivitamin. Very basic, not anything very specific. There's no way to overdose by taking just a daily multivitamin. It's a little bit of an insurance plan to fill in the gap of the nutrition that's missing from the food that we, are outsourcing or trying to pull from locally. If you can make it to a farmer's market, great, but not everybody has the resources or the availability to do that, especially in the Bay Area right now.
Very good. So if you want to summarize very quickly, maybe you can tell people if they want to develop long-term habits, not only during this COVID-19, but long-term healthy habits, what they should focus.
Yeah, I really strongly believe in the power of pause. If that's something that you can adopt, it can be very easily done, because you don't have to give up anything right now. To insert some small little reminder about one little thing you want to improve. And let's say you master that very tiny thing over the next 2 weeks or a month. You can reevaluate, you can pick one more thing, and you can build upon these very tiny habits. And not only are you building on these tiny habits, in 4, 5, 6 months, a year, you'd have a completely different, overall well-being and health. You have a different outlook on your relationship with food. Your body can start to communicate better. One of the best ways to listen to your body would be just even pausing your eating. Slow down. Take 20 minutes to 30 minutes to finish a meal. Allow your body to talk to you while you're eating. And you can start to feel yourself fill up. You can start to feel when you're satisfied. You can learn which foods fulfill your cravings and which ones they leave you feeling, lackluster. You didn't really enjoy it. You just ate it because you always eat it, or it's right in front of you. And then you can start being more picky about what you want to eat. You can eat the things that you love and a little less of the things that just fill your stomach.
So baby steps.
Yeah.
Very good. And if people want to sort of get a little bit more information and they want to contact you, what is a good way to reach?
I I'm available by email or phone. I feel like that's really the best means of communication with me because it's just a conversation, very casual.
Mhm.
Feel free to reach out at Breanna Morin, BreannaMorin at me.com, me.com. And then I'm happy to share my number. My number is 925-640-8896. I do teach courses throughout the Bay Area. I do free online webinars. And when I talk about going back to the basics in kindergarten nutrition,
Mhm.
those are typically free services that I provide because it's not taught in the schools, and I haven't had the ability to change that yet.
Mhm.
So if I can't get it in the schools, I'm happy to teach it, in small groups at complimentary.
Very good, Brianna. Thank you so much today for sharing all this, knowledge that you have gained over 20 years and making it so simple and also giving us a different angle to think why we eat what we eat and what can we do to change all this. I really appreciate you sharing this knowledge with our listeners.
Thank you, Ajay, for having me. It's a joy to be here, and hopefully I can bring some comfort to the Bay Area.
Thank you for joining us on Aging by the Bay today. This show was brought to you by ComForCare. We hope that you enjoy the show and please subscribe to our podcast. And also, you can find this show and also previous shows at our website, agingbythebay.com. We love your feedback, and so please leave your comments. If you have any questions for our featured guest or want to become a featured guest, please contact us by sending us an email at info@agingbythebay.com. We will be back next week, same time. Until then, take care and be safe out there.